Now to East Africa, where Somalia's Islamist rebel group Al-Shabaab says it has decided to kill a French hostage days after France carried out an unsuccessful rescue operation and presumed the man dead. In a statement Wednesday, the militants said they reached a unanimous decision to execute Dennis Alex. He has been held since being kidnapped from a Mogadishu hotel in July 2009 and was last seen in a videotape in October. Alex was part of a team helping to train Somali government troops to fight Al-Shabaab. France tried to free Alex in a raid late Friday that left 2 French soldiers and 17 rebels dead.
Now, even as the situation remains volatile in Somalia, hundreds of Somali refugees who have lived in neighboring Kenya for decades are streaming back home to a country that is seen as relatively stable, and there are other reasons too. Thousands of Somalis have landed at Mogadishu's Aden Abdullah airport just in the past few weeks. Officials in Somalia claim major political developments and a measure of stability in the country are luring refugees back home. Abdul Ghaffur Mohammed is the director of Somali Immigration Department.
Every day there are 5 planes, each carrying 120 passengers landing from Kenya. Most of those coming back home are women and children. These citizens have been encouraged by the earlier call of the president inviting them back to their country, for it has regained its peace.
Though Somalia's recent remarkable stability is believed to be a major reason for the return home, other concerns add to the sudden en masse journey back home for the Somalis who have lived and invested in Nairobi for many years. The recent spate of explosions set off by terrorists in Nairobi's Somali-dominated estate of Isli that resulted in the deaths of scores of Kenyans has led to some Kenyans blaming Somalis for the rising insecurity in the country. Somali residents complain that they are being unfairly targeted by Kenyan security officials, who they say often harass and extort bribes from them while carrying out operations to search for suspected terrorists.
We have been refugees, and Kenya said it has had enough of us. We accepted to come back. That is why I'm back with my kids.
You encounter a lot of problems while you're in a country that is not yours. They have taken advantage of our status as refugees. We have left Kenya.
Kenyan authorities have asked all refugees from Somalia living in urban centers to return back to their designated camps, arguing that some of them had taken part in acts of lawlessness. Kenya says those who will not return to the camps will be rounded up and forcefully deported to Somalia. Harun Maruf, a senior editor with Voice of America's Somali service, says it is difficult for most of those who left the camps to go back there.
The concern and the worry that's coming from the Somali community is that the returnees who are going back to Mogadishu, they are not necessarily refugees. They are there either as students or business people, or they have been living there for a long time, maybe for 20 years. But they're going back because they believe that any measures that are taken by Kenyan security forces to enforce this latest policy would result in mass arrest, or some of them said they will be susceptible to abuse by the Kenyan security forces.
The United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, and non-governmental organizations and Médecins Sans Frontières have petitioned the Kenyan government to reconsider its new policy on forceful deportation. It is not the first time that Kenya has taken such action against refugees.
For instance, in 1989, Kenya has have introduced a very rigorous policy to deport some of the Somalis by force from Kenya into Somalia. And at that time, human rights groups as well as the Somali government claimed that Kenya troops were really abusing the Somali refugees and Somali people in Kenya. And I'm sure there are very few elements within the Kenyan security forces who abuse that power to arrest or question an individual and whether they are staying in the country legal or illegal.
Somalia has remained lawless for the better part of the past 21 years, forcing millions of Somalis to flee the endless chaos that have since claimed more than 1 million lives. But despite the threats of the Al-Shabaab militant fighters looming large, life in Somali capital Mogadishu has begun to witness some encouraging security and stability in the past year. While the number of returnees is still significantly small, as over 500,000 refugees remain in refugee camps in northern Kenya, which has hosted them for over 2 decades since the collapse of Mohamed Siad Barre's regime.
We want to know what you think about In Focus and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is VOA In Focus, and you can check our Africa headlines 24/7 at voaafrica.com.